Call meeting to order. County Commission. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, one right there, John.
Huh?
Eagle.
Oh no, one of those case eagles? Remember they stood up?
They're valuable, I guess.
Oh, boy.
if you got them.
So, I don't know what report I need, Sam, but it's, when you balance the...
Let's take roll call
Oh.
first. John.
Here.
Dale. Mark.
Here.
Sean is absent. Troy's here. Okay. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Moved to accept the agenda as presented.
Moved by Dale, seconded by Mark to accept the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, John.
Okay.
Carry on.
When you balance the books at the end of each month,
Yes.
okay. So, I need to see the total amount obligated to the budget at the end of the month. How much money was left to be paid to, if all the budget monies were spent, if you paid to school, if everybody was paid what they're due, how much would that amount to?
Well,
And I know the answer, and I don't like it.
I'd have to add up.
No, when you balance the cash on hand against the budget, against what needs to be paid out, what's that number? It's equal, isn't it?
Well, the cash on hand, yeah. So my liability report matches what we have in the county.
Right, so there is no unencumbered monies in that
Yes.
report,
Yes.
okay? So what was the cash on hand at the end of last month?
3.8. $3,890,090.33.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What was the budget, what was the balance of all the budgets that hadn't been spent yet?
Of this year's budget. Because this is what we have on hand. That's got nothing to do with the budgets, but budget-wise,
So how much, the budget for the general fund was how much total? And how much has been spent?
it's split out for the general fund. It's not together, so I'd have to add up all of those. Hold on 1 second. So what we actually
Well, no, there must be a total one.
There's not. It's all broke out. I can get you a total of like the road, but within the general fund, they're all separated by like DES, and then the DS, I can give you one total there, but
There's not a grand total.
no, not for the general fund on here.
Isn't there a grand total for the overall budget to tell us how far where we're at?
No, not within the general fund. I'd have to add them all up. Just give me 1 minute.
I thought on your monthly reports, there was in order to balance this thing, you have to take and subtract all the different monies owed from this cash on hand. Your liability report has to be subtracted from the cash on hand to see whether you're above or below one. That's how you balance the books.
I guess we just do make sure that all the debits are there and then the balances are the same between my office and Connie's. That's how we balance the books at the end of the month.
But the money owed on this budget we're working on right now, plus all the money owed to the cities, everybody that we withhold for, has to be a lesser amount than the amount of money we have on hand plus the amount of money that's coming in.
Right.
Maybe Connie could come in here too.
Okay.
Well, Sean?
Let me go grab her really quick.
That thing's pissing me off. It's blowing my papers away.
Rebecca Lodge. Rebecca Lodge, isn't that
The Rebeccas, maybe the Rebeccas were the female version of the Knights of Pythias.
yeah, that's a Catholic.
Okay. Yeah, the Knights of Pythias, the KP is Catholic, yep.
That's Knights of Columbus, is the Catholic.
I just read,
Maybe it's an older version.
No,
I just read Wild
Sorry.
Fight
No,
for
you're
so
right.
bit, and it was the Knights of Pythias were
Oh, really?
doing something there, or he was a member or something.
I thought Hazard's great. It was the Knights of Columbus. I don't know.
Well, the KC's have a hall in town, don't they?
I don't think so.
Cooper?
I think it's
No,
just their
Just the
church.
Sons of Norway.
Yeah, there's Sons of Norway.
You want a motion to recess?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we recess for 10 minutes, we'll get this information.
Second to the motion.
No, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Look it
sign.
up.
Motion carries.
Back that up a little bit.
Connie will be right in.
Come back to order.
So, we're looking for, we know the cash on hand as of the end of the month was 33.89. Remaining collections, you hear that?
That's on Sam's uncollected reports.
Different report. I'll be right back.
And where do we see the total obligations to the budget left?
I don't have that on anything. I don't know what reports Sam has that would show that.
Okay.
There must be something because you get a comparison on those reports for the checks, right? If something's over budget. So there has to be something that's showing what's been.
I think so.
And she does one of those uncollected reports for each year that we have collected taxes for, so now it's 2016, 17, and 18. So she should have to look for those.
No, we're just trying to see what's left to be collected for this year.
Okay, and that'll be on that 19.
Okay.
Yeah, not counting the delinquent, just the outstanding collections for 19.
Yeah, nothing's delinquent because you can pay it till October 15th, right?
There can't be a lot left to come in, is there?
No.
We have one on there, no, I don't think there's too much. Usually isn't.
$169,117.79 is left to be
18 to collect.
That's 18 uncollected. Yep.
Just what?
$169,000.
Yeah, 160, okay.
$117.
We're just using round numbers here, so 15, 9, 10. So there's basically $4 million. Now we just don't need to know the obligations against that $4 million.
Okay,
So that's everything in every budget that we collect for
It's not spent.
that we still owe, that hasn't been paid. So, take for instance,
There's also state aid that's included in the budget, you know, you estimated state aid.
Right.
We haven't gotten,
right,
you know,
I was gonna do that at the end,
okay.
on uncollected revenue.
When does that come, Connie?
Quarterly, so we'll
Oh, okay.
get some this month and then we'll get,
In October?
So, for instance, let's just use an easy one. What was the overall budget for the general fund?
last year,
Yeah, the expenditures. What was the overall expenditures for the general fund?
Budgeted expenditure.
Expenditures, budgeted expenditures.
Isn't that your 18 budget right there?
I don't know which version we got, quite a few.
No, 19.
No, isn't your folder there?
Yeah,
Is that your 18 final?
yeah, I got 18. I'm not sure if it's the.
No, I want this year's.
Or 19, I mean.
Yeah.
I have. $1,394,211.74.
Okay, 113.
Yep, 1,394,211.74.
211.74. Okay, how about the road department?
Let me just make sure that's right here.
I'm not copy of July.
So, or maybe you just give me the, yeah, you can give me the road.
C7?
$2.3 million.
So there we're at 3.7 already. And we haven't figured any of the other outstanding, other outstanding the money left owed to the schools, all the different quarterlies that gotta go
Townships.
out. There's far more budget obligations than we have money.
the money owed to the schools on taxes is still in there, is in her uncollected. The
No,
number
not
she-
uncollected, the payable.
Well,
We
that's-
don't pay them all out, we're gonna make another payment to the school, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, every month.
Right, there we go. All the
Every
rest of the
time taxes
budgetary,
come in, a certain amount goes out to.
the rest of the
all
budgetary
entities,
obligation,
right?
what I'm saying, trying to prove my point with this, that this budget is not a reflection of the amount of money we have. We've only done two budgets, a general and a road, and it already amounts to almost the total dollar value
Of all the
Of-
taxable evaluation or
of all the
taxable-
money, of all the money that we have in the account and is coming into the account. Yep.
Yeah, on the road department, there's, in that 2.277 million, there's 476,000 of Senate bill or whatever, and 75,000 of
Yeah. I know, but I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to be
Taking that off.
precise on this, I'm trying to prove the point that, and Harold agrees that the budget is not a reflection of the actual money on hand. They are independent of each other. Right, so if we do
Budget's
the.
always a guideline, it's not.
So, right, so if we do the budget wrong, if we put too much expenditure on the budget side, as we did with the Senate and House bill money, where we only got 3.2, but we showed expenditure and revenue of 4.8, it is going to put that the remaining balance in that budget way over what is actually in or going to be collected into the treasury. If you added up all the budgetary obligations, it would exceed the money that we have in the treasury plus the money that's gonna come in. It almost does just with two budgets, the general and the road come within.
Well, does the general budget assume a certain amount for the state aid? Is that already within the general budget?
Yeah, it's like 330,000.
Okay.
And we've collected half of that now. So you can put 100, again, I'm not trying to be precise, I'm trying to show that the budget is not, that the budget is not a reflection of money in an account somewhere. It is a reflection of the money that could have been spent. And if we miscalculate the money that could have been spent, as we did with the Senate and House bill money, then we don't have that money in that account. We have the ability to spend it, except we don't have it. If you spent it, we wouldn't have it. We'd write bad checks. Make sense?
Well, the 2.3 million is the 19 estimate.
Right, and we spent 300,000 of it so far, so it's $2 million. Right, Sam?
I'm sorry.
Road
see-
department spent 300,000, I think, so far to date.
Mhm.
So it's $2 million. It has been 300 some odd thousand.
Yep. $392,827.
Mhm. Yeah. So anyway, to a certain extent, the outstanding balances, carryover balances in some of these budgets might be correct, but it's an accumulation of the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And, but to also the extent where we used a in and out figure in a budget and then just kept adding to it, as we showed last
Sure.
week, that budget amount is not correct. So that carryover balance is not correct. And so we need to keep that in mind when we're doing this. If we were to spend every dime that is budgeted this year, we wouldn't have enough money to cover it. If the whole budget, every obligation, if we spent it, we wouldn't have enough money to cover it.
Does that have,
Here we're looking at expenses, but you have to also look at the revenue then for this.
The revenue left remaining. Okay, that isn't very much. The revenue is already in this cash on hand number, most of it.
There's, highway distribution that comes in.
160,000 left on that total. We're already into the second quarter,
Third quarter.
third quarter. But my
Highway
point.
distribution is different from state aid.
Yep.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, they're different.
Sam?
We get a monthly county highway distribution.
That one is,
If that's the case, then you missed the revenue in the road department.
that was that highway distribution,
So 300.
Highway. It was the highway.
But the state aid is only like 45,000, isn't it?
For per year, or what?
Order?
No. Well, I don't know what the general, can't say what the general is. I can't remember what that's broken up into. We usually get around 117,000 total, but it goes to all the taxing entities, so I don't remember what general.
I mean,
What it says in the budget here, what we've got in front of us is
Highway tax.
highway tax, 334,000.
Okay, that's the monthly amount.
And then there's a state aid one that was 41,800 this year,
For 18 though.
but it doesn't have a number for 19 or 20.
And usually the Association of Counties sends out the estimates.
Yeah, and I got that. That's that state tax or whatever, but they label it as
highway distribution.
highway distributions.
Instead of highway tax, it's highway distribution.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, but the state aid is different from
What
highway
that
tax
state
and
aid
highway
was this year.
distribution.
Right.
Yeah, they're listed separately
They're listed separately in the budget, but there's no number in there for 2020 or 2019.
on the state.
Because they had them doubled up. That was the one that was doubled up. The highway distribution and the state aid were both the same number, 324,000.
Yeah.
I know, but there's got to be a number.
Right, there has to be a different number, because they're not the same amount coming through.
And the highway distribution tax is way smaller.
That's the gas tax, license fees and registration is the highway tax.
That's highway distribution.
Yep.
State highway distribution, yep.
That's state aid, I don't know, I didn't have that in my budget, but it was put in there.
Right, and it was the same amount as the highway
Yeah, but it
distribution.
was like 50,000, I think, at first.
Yeah, it's usually a lot less than the
I
highway
think-
distribution.
I looked in here to see.
So is that $4,000 a month or something, or what? Do you
Well,
remember?
that's the quarterly one, so I'd have to.
Oh, so it'd be a $10,000 a quarter or something?
Yeah, if it's even that.
Oh,
Do you have your revenues?
These are, this is expenses.
But we don't we have a figure for our current obligations for 2019, our total current obligations? It would be accounts payable in the business world.
Yeah, I don't know what report that would be.
It would be the
it would be the total budget balance.
the unspent
Yeah.
unspent budget balance, plus we collect taxes for all the other entities in the county.
No, I know, but those are, that is all in unpaid taxes. That, we don't have an obligation to them yet.
Sam?
Because when the money comes in, we pay it right out.
Is it at the end of the expense
So
report?
their share of what they're gonna get is in that unpaid taxes number.
Which is minimal than 159,000.
Right, so it's not very much.
Right.
But, so the big number is what we haven't spent of our own budget.
And when we put expenditures in our own budget over and above what the revenue is, it inflates that number, and it can't be a carryover.
Right.
Right.
I'm just trying to find a way to, so that we can visualize this, so that it's not such a.
Right. But do you show? That's not.
It'd be nice if we could just keep it separate.
Do you show?
It isn't separate.
No.
It was imaginary.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to look at that later.
Oh, it's back to back.
Yeah, sorry. That's the end of because I don't have a bunch of numbers in there for those like townships and
Right.
whatever it is.
Supposed to have this countywide.
Yeah.
But you don't need them for the townships,
No,
because you've already paid them everything we've collected, and what we haven't collected is in the uncollected number.
Yeah.
So it does, there's no obligation there,
No.
not for any of the cities or anything.
No, 'cause whenever it
Not
comes
this
in-
time of year, they don't get paid immediately, they get paid on a monthly
Yes.
basis, so anything during that month that's collected.
Whatever comes in, they get their percentage.
In
of it.
November, it'd be a big number, December would be a big number, this time of year it doesn't.
It'd be a huge number.
Right.
Because they're also.
So then the uncollected one is not reflective, then the balance in the treasury is higher than the uncollected. but not necessarily.
Well, but, yeah,
Well, isn't this our total obligations for the year, right?
What's that?
On page B4. So the estimated expenditures for 2019 at the bottom, 1.195 million.
Estimated expenditures, yeah, that's just for those.
just the general government.
Right.
Yep. Okay, well, we'll get that later then.
I would like to just start from the beginning, if we could, just go through the entire budget if we may. Be pretty easy. So if you want to start on page B2, and we'll just start with revenues.
Pardon?
Do I need to say?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think we're gonna get that answer
We're not
today.
gonna
Thanks,
get it.
Connie.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Connie. Yeah.
So if there's anything that you guys see that state aid is the number that I got from that email.
The 428?
Mhm.
No, that's 20, okay.
This,
What's that for?
it just tells me state aid distribution is estimated $428,002 for state aid.
Is the school number and everything in there, or that's just county?
That's just the county.
Okay.
This is county data sheet for Griggs. They are estimating that we're gonna get 434,733 this year, but I didn't change that number, so I left it at the,
361?
yeah.
No, 428 is the estimated revenues for 2020. State aid, right?
That's for 2020. They're estimating for 2019. We budgeted 361,299,
Right,
and they're estimating that we're gonna get 434,733.
for 19. Yeah, well, yeah, we.
But I
we-
didn't switch that
No, we
number.
can't say, because we don't switch, we don't modify expenses, we don't
Yep.
modify revenue.
Yep.
That's,
So that's what I did.
okay.
So if you guys are good with that one, we'll just continue on. To B3, there's more expenditures.
No revenues.
Revenues, sorry. Yes, revenues.
478 total.
Okay. So then we go to page B7.
B4?
B4 is the what?
That's the general total, that's what we're looking for.
Yep. So then once we go through all these or whatever, those numbers could change.
How did you get the 900,000?
We're at,
Yeah, where are you looking?
2019 estimated revenue.
That's what you guys budgeted last year.
that's, you gotta go back and look at the.
I gotta look at the other column.
You gotta look at the levy. The levy is included in the revenue for when we have
Yeah.
levied.
Yep.
485,000.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
So,
So you're looking at B4.
appropriation. So this requested 2020, that's the adjusted one already? Or not?
No, that's just what we requested, and then that next one is what you finally decided on. Not having any of the reserve in there. And that was including the longevity raise, the
Yeah.
other raises,
Yeah.
and then the health insurance.
So okay, that one. You answered my question.
And then if you look at B5, that's where sheriff, coroner, and DES are. They're not in this B4.
So, hang on here.
Okay.
What time do you need to leave, George?
Hmm?
What time do you need to leave?
So
quarter to 4.
Plug that number into the reserve.
Into the reserve. You got it. Hold on one second.
We're gonna put $318,000 into the reserve to try to, and that will equalize the 2020 final appropriation with the estimated expenditures of 2019 on page 4.
What do you want me to tell you?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Now you can go. Now you can go do the rest of the. Now we can go look at the rest of the individual budgets that might change this sheet here.
Okay.
Okay.
I got it.
And whatever we lower those by, then we'll raise that number by.
Okay.
And whatever we raise them by, we'll lower by that number.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So B7 is county commissioners. There's nothing there. B8.
No true word spoken.
Just ask anybody.
B8 is the district court that got moved out of the general fund.
Yep.
B9 is mine. Nothing changed except for that 3%
Yep.
salaries. Treasurer, same thing. State's attorney, same thing. Recorder, same thing. With the recorder, we did the 3% raise. Then I balanced the recorder with how much revenue we're gonna get, and then took the difference and put that in here. That's why that number is not 50% of whatever it's
What is it?
Yeah.
what the salary should be, less what's in the recorder's budget.
Okay.
Tax director, nothing changed except for the salaries, and I did take the assessment software and the GIS out. Custodian, the only thing that changed was the salaries.
And we gave the custodian the same raise as everybody else.
Correct,
Because
yep.
originally they didn't ask for a raise.
Right.
Okay.
General expenses.
Here we go.
So I don't have a reserve in there right now, but we just changed that now, so I've got that changed. So if you want to put the $318,951.74 in there, but that'll.
And then what does that give us for a total down here on the final allowance? 467 something.
$467,951.74.
$951.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so then the next page is continuing those general expenses. I added 30,000 for the sheriff's vehicle in there, and that's the 10,000 for the cameras and the 20,000 for the vehicle.
Okay.
Social Security, those are formulas, so they just work themselves out when we do the new salaries.
Yep.
If you look at B17, I did send out an email to you guys from Travis. He said that we can drop that state IT, the WAN, down to 8,000 because the state's gonna up their speed, so it should be good. So I just, if it's okay with you, I'd like to take that 12,000 down to 8.
And then the other thing here, Sean, didn't you make the motion to get rid of the county shop internet line and the fiber lease?
Yep.
Yeah.
You didn't have the fiber lease either, okay. I just had the note about the county shop, so I'll make that adjustment.
Well, they kind of went hand in hand, so
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need the fiber lease if you're gonna keep the internet connection.
Right, and then I did drop the tech support down to the 5,000.
What was it?
It was at 8.
Was it 8? So it was 3,000. Okay. Okay.
Okay. This doesn't need, that's already in there.
Oh, yes.
Yep, I've already done that. Okay, so B18, insurance. Nothing should change there, and that job service and workforce safety is formula, so they'll just change as we do. B19 is the sheriff's. Things that changed were the vehicle got taken out and that major equipment, and that got moved to the general fund. I think that's the only thing that changed except for salaries. Coroner, nothing ever changes there. DES.
And those clients.
DES, I kept everything the same there, the salaries and everything.
You haven't heard anything from those guys?
I haven't, no. Superintendent of schools, nothing. Courtroom grant, nothing. And then you're out of the general fund.
Okay, so then go back to the revenues and, so first of all, then go add $11,250 to that, 318, or whatever it was.
Plus,
11,250.
okay, so that's gonna be 330,201.74.
Guys get that?
That reserve in the general
What is that?
fund,
Okay, so that reserve in the general fund goes to 330,201.74.
on page B15.
Because we had to add it, and now go to the revenues.
Revenues, okay?
In the general fund. Estimated revenues in the general fund. Okay. Okay, so if you go to, guys, go to page 2. 2B, revenues. So if we did this right, we kept the expenditures identical from last year in the general fund, right? We kept them, the expenditure should be a 1,195,242.98.
Say that number one more time.
1,194,242.98.
No, 1,411,694.62.
Okay, so right now, before we added that, we were at 876,291.24 for the final appropriation in 2000.
Before we added that?
No, that's what we were at before we added the 318. What are you at, 1.4?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you didn't, where did you add this at? Did you add the expenditure to the reserve here in, on this
General fund.
page?
Yep.
So if you did that, if you added that, that should have brought this number to this number. difference between this number and this number is that. The estimated expenditures for 2019 were $1,095,242.98. We want the final expenditure for 2020 to equal that. So we have to add $319,041.74 to the final expenditure for 2020 into the reserve, and then these two numbers should equal.
Okay, I did the 330, so 319.
You subtract it here.
041.
Subtract
318,
318,951. Yeah.
What?
The first number we had at 318,951.
318,951.74.
If you go to the
So now we'll do this page again. Alright, now.
there we go.
Nope.
Nope.
Still off a little.
How much?
100 and.
No. It's
It's not off.
well, you'll figure that out.
Okay.
That's reflective of those changes we made here in the ITT of the 11,000 and the 3,250. Okay.
1,95322. So $80.
Okay, so then if you go to
it's $80 off. When you were typing it in, you said 209 instead of 291.
okay, there we go. Dyslexia, 291.
So I need to go down.
It's the old bookkeeper's code. You have to keep the excess, but have to pay the deficit.
Alright, got it.
Okay, so now if you go to revenue on page 2, and this is just going to be for a check when you do this, when you do this final thing. So we've got more revenue than we did in 19 by $66,000. See the estimated revenues in
What page you on, John? B3?
2 and 3, huh?
hang on here.
So that general fund
No,
number, that reserve is 318,951.74.
Okay.
Just
So less the tax levy. Oh, here. Less the, it's page B3. And what did you levy? Hang on. 901,165.93 less 485, 210, 415. Right, so that's just some more ideas for it. Okay, so if you added to 478, 148, plus C. Yeah, that's just right. So, in order to have the same dollar amount in revenues for this year compared to last year, it will take 20. Hang on here. $62,000 less. in $62,000 less in levy to do that. So it should be 3 mills less on the general fund. Make sense, Dale? The numbers there. So what I did was I went to the bottom of page 3 and I added a 478 with what we levied last year. Up there, estimated revenues in the levy 485, 210.
What was the general levy last year?
Yeah.
What was
I
it?
added those together and that came,
85 to
No,
10.
mills.
Oh,
In mills, oh, okay.
no, in mills, it'll be $62,000. So if you, our revenues from this year are 478, 148.
No, I know, what was the general mill levy? It was, 70.5.
24.48. That's how many mills I levied.
It was 24.48. Oh, okay. So it's gonna be 19.7?
If that's the difference is $62,000. We have 62,000, if we levied the same dollar value this year's last year, we would end up with $62,000 more in total revenue than we have this year. So if we decrease the total revenue to match last year's, and that will match our expenditures, it should be $62,000 less that we have to levy.
Right, but the mill is gonna be bigger, so it's not gonna be
That's-
apples for apples.
that's what he said, 3
That's
less
why I
mills,
said
right?
3 less mills.
Roughly.
Yeah, well, I think we made some adjustments. I came up with 62,000.
Less, because this is more.
Huh?
This is more.
Yeah, what the hell can that be?
Because we all.
I know it's more, but that's the point I'm trying to get at. How can that be? We just went through the whole expenditures for the general fund, and it should be less, and you're right, it is more. How can that be?
Are you testing me right now?
I'm asking a question.
And yes.
No, I'm not. I mean, I don't know. I just did it the way that.
Because, yeah, I have that we levied 485 to 10 last year. And we're going to levy 537, 803.28.
So, what did you have for total revenue last year compared to this year, without the tax levy?
Revenues. Last page.
Should be the 901 less the levy, right?
$415.
Yeah.
$955. But if the revenues are gonna be the same this year or for next year, what you're pointing at?
No, I'm pointing at the revenues are gonna be $62,000 higher. So that would decrease the amount of money needed to be levied by $62,000. We matched the expenditures.
Yep.
Expenditures are the same,
So the revenues need to be the same.
the total revenue, but there's two parts that make up the revenue.
You matched just that one part of the expenditures. You didn't match the other part. If you go to page B5, that's more expenditures. We only matched the one side of them. We
Why
didn't
was it
match.
total? Why was it total?
Because then at the bottom of this, Cause B5 then is more expenditures. That's where the sheriff, coroner, and DES are.
So where's it, so is this the grand total then?
What page is that? B6?
Where does that public safety come back in to the total expenditures?
Okay, so we need to know the total expenditures for the general fund. And that's supposed to be this number here. Why are these, when these are 4,000 numbers, why are they on a separate total?
I don't know. That's how Ron set it up.
It's on B6.
101.4 million.
I think.
Okay, so then subtract the 1,394,211 minus the 1,081,000, and that becomes a reserve number.
Okay, say that a number again, John.
Right here. If this is the total now of the general fund, subtract this from this.
Of what I have or what you have?
No, what we have here. We're going to change the reserve number again.
Okay,
Make
so
this
you
thing
want
balance.
1,394,211.73 minus 10819. Oops, 492. Okay, so 312,718.85.
Put that in the change the reserve number to that.
That's not with those other changes that we made with
In the IT and
18.85. And then you want me to look at that comparison again?
Now are these numbers the same?
6. Yep.
Okay, now they're the same.
Yep.
Okay. Now what does it tell you for overall plus or minus expenditures or levy?
We're levying 46,000 more this year.
So is there a negative revenue number somewhere?
Negative revenue number. No.
Or is the revenue number wrong? What do you have for total revenue?
Revenue
Less
this year?
what page would it be?
I have 478, 148.95.
Okay.
73.
So we have more revenue than last year. Right?
by 63,000.
But that's not what her, she's showing that we have to levy more, that we come up, that we're deficit rather than positive. No, you're not. No, parentheses means
Negative.
negative.
Man, I should be negative, right?
No.
Well, then
Well,
what?
where you
This
at?
this number is lower than this number.
Right, so when you this is telling you got $46,000 above what you need. A levy is always in the parentheses. When you're solving for the levy, it's always a negative number. Remember, when you get done with the, let's see.
But that should be here. This is telling me how much I need to levy. I need to levy that 531,000.
Should be less than that.
That's wrong. Okay, so what you got wrong? That's wrong here. Okay, those here are equal. Cash investments, 478, that's right. 5C, where's 5C? Line 4. Schedule B, page 6, line 72. Schedule B, line 6. Page 7, line 72. Plus line 73. Oh. Estimated December 31st, 2019.
The balance is what changes this thing.
No, what changed it is, I think we overspent the budget in 18. We haven't adjusted those figures yet. We have some budget accounts that we haven't audited, that we haven't amended yet to get them back above water. So that brings this number, this December 31 balance, this 903. That makes it a lower number, which then plays out against this year's and last year's and the next year's. So when we approve the audit and make the amendments to 2018, that number will rise.
You're gonna have that every year.
Not if we
Likely.
turned the- not if we turned the
You have
money
to
to
ever
damn
amend
treasury,
it.
we wouldn't. Okay, go ahead, just leave it.
You know, I think I remember conversation of this back a few years. We knew this was coming forward.
Yeah.
See, we're using this number here, Sam. If you read it here, this comes back from December 31st, 2019, but it reflects back to December 31st, 2018.
That's the balances.
As it ended up, but it actually wasn't the balance because we overspent those budgets and we haven't fixed them yet.
Right.
So when we fix them, that'll all adjust, and then it should fall right where we have it here. But we're going to levy before that. No, we're not going to levy before that happens. All the more reason to have Harold.
Well, wouldn't that go down because we have to correct the regional corrections?
Right, we overspent that.
Yes.
Right, so that's where we're probably over. Then a couple of more we're over, and that's what's causing it.
We gotta fix all those so
We have to fix all
the balances at the end of the year go down. And so that it reflects an actual.
Because you put these numbers in, the 18 balances from what we closed the books, not the amended balances.
Right. Except for those ones that you actually amended. in
Amended,
those-
right.
Those years, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That'll get close, but Harold has got to get here. We've got to get those numbers plugged in.
I
so we
emailed
can
him
check.
and did you tell him?
I did. I told him this morning, and then he just starts talking around in circles, and pretty soon
You can
Just
see,
come.
You can
Just
see his
come.
arms flying through the phone.
Okay.
So did
Okay,
he give you an answer when he's coming?
Hmm.
Oh.
I emailed him too and he wouldn't email me back, so.
When do you need me? Month and a half ago. Oh, when's the next time you need me? Yeah, a
Week
month and a half
from,
ago.
week from Friday.
When's your next meeting?
Put him on
I
the
said
budget,
this
put him on
morning.
the agenda for the next.
I said this morning, I said this afternoon. Oh. Well, what can we do? I said, jump in your car. I can't do that. So,
Are you ready to tackle the road budget?
yeah, mowing, that, so we're 46, we're the wrong way. We should be, it should take us back the other way, $100,000. We'll see.
The road? Or are you?
Wherever you're at, we're done with,
So-
if we're done with everything else.
Yeah, we are done with the general fund, so we can move on to C7. This is the only budget that we still need to actually go through. And then you should be on the right path. I did send out the email last night explaining exactly what I did. I didn't move anything into a different budget or anything like that that we had talked about at the last meeting. So I tried to make it as simple as possible, but I mean, however you guys want to go forward with this, this is just kind of how we've done it in the past, is put that reserve, work it backwards so that then we do get that 30 mils. What I did was I added up all the revenue. I added into that balance forward of the 904, and I added what 30 mils would bring in and made that expense line come out to that number.
So with the estimated revenue without the tax is 452,163, is that right?
That's with the tax. That's with,
No, that's that's without the property tax.
Without the levy.
yes,
You got
yes,
that.
yep. I thought you were talking about the highway
That state aid
distribution.
number, there shouldn't be a number in there?
I don't have a number. I didn't get a number in my sheet. The only thing I got was state highway distribution fund.
Okay, and then the requested is 1.36177598, is that right?
For expenses. Yep,
And what do we think the mill levy is gonna be?
21,
40, you say?
400.
400?
That's what I thought, but you might have.
21, 436.98.
that one.
436.98. Oh, boy, really a big one. 21. 98.
643, 109.
6 what?
643, 109, 40.
109. What was it, pennies?
40.
Okay, so what's that?
1,095,272.95.
What was that again?
1,095,272.95. We got a $266,503 hole.
I want to point out one thing on page C7.
Oh, but this isn't right. Because all the,
Reserves in there,
right, well,
If you look at that requested number, that's got that,
that reserve in it. No, I'm looking at
right?
the final appropriation has all the top 9 things corrected, right?
So I use
In the final
use the
appropriation.
requested 220. The requested 220 subtracted from the.
No.
that's got that, 8% raise.
All the salaries and all that shit are wrong in there.
Yeah.
You gotta use the
Final
final
appropriation.
appropriation minus 721,000.
Yeah.
What does that come to?
1,278,184.10. Do you want me to say that again?
Just subtract that from the one, now subtract that from the,
1,278,184.
okay, so $203,000 apart then?
$182,911
Okay.
and 15 pennies.
So before you deliberate there, go to page C7. Go to the very bottom of the page on the left-hand side, actual expenditures 2018 December 31st balance, $1,611,310.50. Now move over one column, $904,225.91. That's what we estimated expenditures at the close of the books this year. So we have decreased that balance by $800,000 if we spend everything in the budget for 2019. So we're taking a pretty good chunk out of that.
You following?
I'm not following that. You say on page C7?
Yeah.
C7.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
You're looking at 19 or 18?
So I'm looking from 18 to 19. So at 18 we closed out with 1,611,000. In 19 we're expected to close out with what we put in the budget of 904,000.
Is that okay?
Yeah, my back, my head's freezing.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
Quiet too.
I couldn't.
Sorry, I was getting cold. I was gonna
I couldn't
say.
hold my stuff down. I was blown away.
So the actual Senate bill and House bill revenue that we got reimbursed for is not in here.
If 2018's,
Right.
it's
I mean, it had to be more than $100,000, wasn't it?
Where are you looking?
70.
70, yeah.
The Senate bill says 18,000 and the House bill says 90,000. That can't be right.
that's what my reports show, and then it balances with the audit.
I don't know where you're looking.
House bill and Senate bill.
The revenue
Revenue.
side on
For
the
18.
Well, I am on the revenue side. Estimated revenue 476,000 for
That's
House
19.
bill. Huh?
That's 19.
Right, that's right.
18. It says 18,387.90.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we do a whole bunch of that work last year?
That must have been all we got paid for in 18. We did, it started in 16, in 17, and then maybe that invoice came back through in 19, I don't know. Or maybe we got reimbursed in 18, I don't know. Remember, those are in and out of.
Yeah, I know, that's what, but that would explain if some of that was missed in the revenue side, it would explain this big hole in this budget.
No, because we put it on the expenditure also.
It should be canceling each other out from the expenses and the revenues and expenditures.
carryover,
It should be
right.
this.
Yeah, the expenses are the same, so that,
Yeah.
okay.
So anyway, the point is that,
Troy boys, I gotta go.
huh?
I gotta go.
You have to go? Oh. Okay.
Marky poo.
Oh,
Take the hammer, man. I gotta go to a funeral in Montpelier.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Right.
Anyway, we decreased the balance by $700,000.
Yeah.
Or we're expected to. We were not gonna spend everything in 2019. If you go through here, you know, we can probably see $200,000 that won't get spent, but we know the House bill money is spent, we know the Senate bill money is spent. Oh, excuse me. Outside contractor, Wayne, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna spend?
We're gonna spend, I can't remember what that project cost, it's something, we'd spend about 20% of what the cost is.
Right.
That's our match.
So if we figure we'll keep 100 there and the, you know, and the gravel fund, we haven't spent that. But the rest of these, if you look back to 18, if we spend what we spend in 18, they both match up, and we're gonna spend a lot more on the health insurance and things like that. So I don't think we're gonna come out of this, I don't think we're gonna come out of this budget with a whole bunch of carryover.
So I'd say 20% of 300,000.
Right, 60,000. So, yeah, there's, I mean, when I look at the expenditures here for 2020, I don't see where we're gonna carry a lot. Do you? I mean, there's not much fluff in them the way it looks.
So there could be 90,000 there. Gravel. I don't know if we're gonna spend anything. I mean, Gilbertson still owes us $50,000 worth from last year's.
Right. But I mean, we're always gonna need gravel, we're gonna have to spend that, so we got gravel. I mean, that's a item that, we stockpile it.
That's a perpetual,
right,
Yeah, I think back, you know, some years when we had budgeted, say, $100,000 for gravel, we didn't spend it, so we carried it over and added it on to the next year's budget. But
right.
You know, so the next year, I see I budgeted for $200,000 in 2015, I think it was, or something like that. But
And, you know, we put the road and bridge fund, that's supposed to be, I mean, that's what we're calling our cost share on these projects, right? You have $50,000? Yeah.
and the House and Senate money's
I think that's
taking
what
the
it was.
pressure off of the gravel budget, you know, a lot of it too, so,
Yeah.
it has, yeah.
To a certain extent, only in the roads that qualify.
right.
We have a fair amount of gravel still piled, don't we, in a lot of these pits?
We do. We'll have enough for this year, you know, without running out. Next year, yeah, we'll have to put some up for sure.
It'd be nice if we could do that over 2 years rather than have a big expense from 1 year. For
Well,
1 year.
that's why
Yeah.
we can't really make a cut to
Yeah.
this
I don't think we really
$120,000.
wanna cut that.
No.
because
Yeah.
We could cut the outside contractor because next year there will be no projects that I know of until we get the prairie dog money in 2021.
Or whenever it's built up, right? Might not even be there then.
Yep. And there, of course, there'd be no matching again. You know, the first year that we got that oil money, we had to match. There was a percentage we had to pay out of our pocket. But then after that, first year, then they
Just
supposed to be
appropriated so much.
100%
Yeah.
payback. You know.
It's not fired yet.
Huh?
It's not fired.
I put extra in the culvert this year because we might have some culvert projects like that coming road too. No, I didn't put no 3 to 5 footers concrete culverts in it, but I did increase the culvert request. Building repairs, 30,000. I still would like to put concrete in that building in Bedford if we ever get it built.
So this 1,095,000 on, that we put in, that's the hard numbers, right? For, isn't that where we put that, at the revenue?
Mm-hmm.
That 1,095,000?
Yeah, so if.
Less the reserve and all that stuff?
Right, yeah, we're,
Yep.
right now,
Yep.
right now we have expenditures that exceed revenue by $182,000.
On yours or with the reserve?
No,
fund?
taking the reserve out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the reserve is just making the program perform, that's all
Mhm.
that's doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if
The
you
only,
take,
well, the only thing that would change the revenue side is if there was some state aid. Right?
Mhm.
That'd be the only fluctuation
I
in
don't
the
know, I don't know if
revenue.
we get any state aid, we get that printout from the Association of Counties, and they
Yeah.
estimate what the gas tax license fee is gonna be, and then they also have a state aid. I don't know if
And
the
I'm
counties
wondering
get
if that's
some, the
maybe why
townships
they
get
just
some,
put
or
it
what
all
that is.
into the like, they tell me state aid is gonna be this much, and then I've always just put that in the general fund.
I don't know.
Well, then this is a hard number then.
That 1,095,000.
Yep.
I mean, if the only way to change that is take it out of the general fund. I mean, you can't duplicate it, so.
So
And-
we gotta start trimming on the expenditures.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other option is to take a huge bite out, to take a bite out of the reserve again, but we've already decreased that by about half in 1 year, and that was. But
Well, could we take 100,000 out of the outside contractor?
Well, that's what I would do, that still doesn't quite do it right.
Well, it's a start, but.
But that's supposed to be, well, that's supposed to be a fund that we keep building, because that's the only money we have to pay for the matching fund projects.
Yeah.
And the road and bridge fund, what was that started for? Because in 2018, we didn't have any
We didn't have any.
road and bridge fund.
What's the minor equipment payments of
That
18,000?
was for those bridges, remember we had to pay 20% on bridges if they're gonna get matching funds on them? Maybe we just separated it out, I don't know. What did it used to be? There was a road and bridge fund, and there was a state aid fund.
It was, we used to have FAR,
Right.
like roads or.
Is, major equipment, is that our lease on the graders?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
What's the minor one then?
Minor one is the tractor lease
Oh,
and a $10,000 payment on a skid steer.
Bobcat.
I'm looking into the permits, to see what that is. I talked to the state, and they said, I would believe you have a specific policy adapted when you first implemented permits for the weight restrictions. In my experience, counties would use the funds to offset any costs related to damages from using the road by those permitted vehicles. But said that I should talk to Ben Gates from Steele County because he's working with this. But I never did reach out to Ben about it.
You mean what we could do with that money?
Yeah,
Oh.
because we have 29,000 or whatever. You guys asked me to look into where that can be spent, if that can be help with this.
What have we spent it on previously? Nothing?
Nothing. It's just been building. Yeah, it's on B9. We have $29,741 in there.
increase the gravel to 100,000 from 120. I'd add 20,000 onto it.
Well, there only looks like about 3 areas we can trim enough to even get close is outside contractor, gravel, and culverts probably. The rest don't even look like they're much wiggle on them.
So outside contractor, you want down 100,000, so just to 50,000,
Yeah.
conversation's sake.
Yep.
And then gravel to 100,000,
Yeah.
and then culverts down to
30? Does that leave you enough? How about the overtime?
Did I switch it to 30, right, for
Mhm.
conversation's sake?
Just for conversation, yeah.
30,000, okay, and then overtime.
Suppose that's a crapshoot, you never know with winter.
Yeah, but just like we've talked about with maintainers, you can't budget for the worst case scenario, right?
If you take 20,000 off culverts, that'd be 140.
I have expenses now of $1,139,284.10 with those 3 areas.
How much did you decrease it by?
Mm,
140.
100 right there.
And we need to shed 182. 183.
182, 911.
138.9, right?
I think so.
Leaves overtime.
Getting closer.
Well, there's a lot of smaller things. It's like shop expenses, actual in 18 were 7,000, budgeted just about double that. What would the engineering cost?
So
go towards?
138,900, right? That's the number you got?
What's that?
I shaved it down by 138,900.
Yeah, with those 3 items.
Yep.
Well, if there's no House bill or Senate bill money left, how much engineering do we need?
Take that off for this year. probably.
Engineering.
If everything, yeah.
Where's
Then
that
just
20?
paid up by the, well, that'll be coming out of the Senate bill supposedly. As long as we
Yeah, I mean, it
don't have any new projects.
any new project. We don't have any because we don't have any money, so.
We'll take that 20,000 for now.
How much are we supposed to be shaving this down?
182,911.
Okay, we're at 158,900.
Yeah.
You know, it's a terrible thing to think about, but we're postponing the inevitable. And because next year it's just gonna be compounded again.
Yeah.
And the elephant in the room is at the top of the page there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we gonna, once we do all this, cause now I don't show that we're needing to levy anything. That-
No, then we're going
Then
to
we'll-
increase the reserve to make it levy the full maximum 30 mils.
Okay,
But then we have to remember that that reserve is not a reserve. It's there, but it can't be touched because it doesn't, well, it could be touched this year, but if you did that, if you actually spent that whole reserve, you would have wiped out any carry forward for 2021.
so in next year's budget, you don't want me to put that reserve in?
No,
that
you'll
is-
see, you'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
If we get through this year and there's some money that isn't spent, there will be still a carryover balance in this thing,
Mhm.
you know. I mean, if we can stabilize it at some point, that carryover balance should always be the same, and that should be our reserve.
If we trim overtime by 20,000, will that adjust some of the other stuff, FICA?
Yeah,
Yeah,
by 50%, so it would.
not the retirement,
No, that's right, it's just.
cause there's no retirement
Not the
on,
health insurance either.
right.
No, so it wouldn't make much difference.
Take
Unless
20 out of
Ron's,
20 out of overtime?
unless Ron might have the formula doing that actually, but I
Well, all you have to do is just what percentage is contributed to
Of 20,
healthcare and,
of 20, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be much. It's
the
gonna
health
be-
insurance is the one I've actually put that one
Right.
in. The other ones,
It would probably be 10% of that number, I would say.
So another 2,000.
Yeah.
Like you say, I haven't been riding along forever on this thing, but like you say, it's getting closer and closer and closer and closer. Where, you know, Sam and I sat down, a week ago, and we kinda went through, we chopped all this stuff out, and then it was like a $17,000 we were over, if you completely eliminated some of these things. And you can't continue to do
We're
that.
$2,000 away now if we trim overtime by 20.
so you did that to 14,000?
I did, yep, and then it took about 2,000 on the FICA, so that puts us at
Okay, let me
180,900.
It's trimming it all. So Ron does have those
Tied together.
in there for the formula.
Shouldn't be, but.
And I don't know how to fix it. I don't know
Don't
how
try.
to, yeah,
I'm not trying either.
I'm not doing it.
Okay.
We've done that before, Sam.
I can't even fix names and I won't, so.
We'll leave that.
I was around one time when Ron.
Did we
was here,
take
you and I
engineering
tried to fix
completely
this.
out?
We fixed it real good.
20?
Yep.
Remember up in the old courthouse?
Gosh, I won't touch this thing now.
That's when we got the levy up at like $44 million or some damn thing when we punched the
I guess
button.
I'd rather take 30,000 off building repairs.
Then that $20 out of overtime? Is that what you mean?
No? You never know what the future's gonna be, I guess. But
Building.
whatever will bring us down to that amount that you think you need.
Where's
but
building repairs at?
Down at the bottom, it's 30,000.
Subtract the 30 off and it's. instead
Okay.
of the 20,
Is that what's left for the building up in Binford? Is that what we're thinking? Is that what 30 is for?
I think that's what this year's 30 is for, isn't it?
There's
Is
another
it?
fund somewhere that shows what's left in the building.
Yeah, cause
But
this
I
is
mean,
what we
I-
budgeted for, but we
we've
amended
planned.
that budget.
No, we paid,
For the steel?
Some
we,
of it.
right, but in this year's budget, we have to have,
Yeah.
we had to have money to pay for that building.
Yeah.
In 18 or 19?
Huh?
I mean 19 or 20?
In 19,
Right, that's coming out of this
right.
year's.
Yeah, so this 20 shouldn't,
No, 20 doesn't have nothing to do with it.
okay.
But in 18, you guys,
Paid for the steel.
is that what? But we wrote a check out of that fund to move it into this year's fund.
Right, in
And,
19.
and
right.
I didn't put that in here.
No, it shouldn't be in here.
Okay.
Because it's just, all it'll do is it will add whatever that amount was, or would add that amount to the carryover, or to the expected balance in 19, but we're gonna spend it anyway.
If we're
so
not gonna
it's
spend
gonna
that 30,
get
I'd
treated like
rather
an
put
allowance.
put that into gravel then, rather than overtime.
But I mean, it's your budget, Wayne, you tell
Don't
us
you
what you
think
only
so?
want it, then.
Adjust fuel a little bit, got it up 27% from 18. I don't know which direction fuel's been going, I don't really watch it.
That's a crystal ball, you know.
Yeah, it's like overtime.
Yeah.
They both go up at the same rate.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's,
So if we don't budget enough, then what happens? Yeah, we could take 10,000 off, or that would be
10,000 off of where?
fuel, gas, oil, and fuel.
Okay.
2018, we spent 81. We had budgeted 110.
As long as we don't bomb Iraq, we'll be good.
19. Let's see. We spent 45,000 out of our $100,000 budget for fuel. And I think there's a couple bills or a bill coming up in the next week. That'll be 46.
Pretty close.
500. We're over the half mark, but
depends on if there's any winter.
yeah.
I mean, what would we budget for the 30,000 for the building, if the one up shop up in Binford's already done? But I would rather see us, instead of putting that back into overtime, is, I would think you'd wanna buy more gravel with that. If we're gonna cut that gravel budget down to nothing, at least we
Well, it's
have.
not down to nothing, it's
100,000.
Yeah, that's right. I kept thinking it was at 25 or something, so.
well,
But eventually, we're gonna have a road department and no money to do any work.
Yeah,
we're gonna be hiring contractors and thinking that's gonna be cheaper. It's not. And you won't get the service out of somebody working for you as you will of people that are dedicated to their job.
I understand, I agree, Wayne, it's just, what we do for the money, I mean, it's,
Some of the expenses would be transferred over to the general fund, who isn't collecting all the mills that they can collect.
so tax citizens more.
Yeah. They want their services, when you're allowed to collect 30 mills, and I don't know what you're collecting out of that.
We're allowed to collect
35, 39.
Well, count me out on that one right away, so.
yeah.
Fine. Our taxes just went up.
So do we need the building
Not
repairs?
because, not because of what the
No.
county did, because of what the schools and the rest of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the county hasn't raised, the point where,
Yes, no.
the part we're in charge of, we
Yeah.
haven't raised any.
We don't need the building?
I don't think we need the building repairs,
Okay,
or,
so if we put the overtime back in and we take the building out, that puts us at 188, which would get us there.
or $10,000 worth of building repair. I don't know what you've got for, I suppose
Well,
the
they-
doors or something. if
You know,
got
the
to
door in
replace.
the east room keeps freezing down, so I don't know if just a thicker insulated door, because there must be some insulation in the door. Would solve it, or we need heat in there probably. Should be heat in the east room.
Well,
The door was fairly new, those doors were fairly new a
Uh,
couple of years ago.
I'll tell you why I think it freezes down. It's not a smooth front door. If you look at it, it comes and it's indented.
Oh.
So when they put the rubber seal against it, and it's indented,
Oh,
the
yeah.
cold air blows in
Yeah.
right against the track, and then the warm air, it melts, freezes at the bottom.
We use a NIPCO to thaw
Yeah.
out the ice and snow or whatever. and-
Why don't we just fill those indentations with,
Caulking,
you know,
whatever. I think it'd be worth a try
To do what?
to fill them with something, that would stay there. Maybe this time of year would be the time to do it. It isn't going to stick very good in the wintertime. But that'd be worth a try anyway
just
to
not
see
to
if
let the water get in there, displace the water.
the condensation.
Yeah, it's condensation
Yeah.
is what happens.
Yeah.
Because just like on the door in the house, the screen doors or whatever, they sweat if you leave the door. I think this is kind of the same deal. So it's worth a try. It'd be a cheap fix if it would work. Getting close, Sean?
I got her.
What did you all change, Sean?
Okay, you ready?
I am ready. Go slow.
Engineering, 20,000.
Engineering.
That's gone.
Okay, got it.
Outside contractor, take 100,000 out.
Okay.
Gravel, 20,000.
Okay, did you take 10 off of gas, oil, and fuel?
No.
You didn't, okay. Okay,
Culverts, take 18,900 out of that.
okay,
And out of building repairs, 25. That should be 183,900.
I have 1,094,284.10. Is that what we were going for?
Oh, then we gotta take that 721 and 314 out of that, right? The reserve?
Right, yep, I took that off.
We were trying to trim it by 182,911.
We came up with 183.9.
So Wayne,
Should be this, 1,095,270.
this prairie dog money that supposedly is coming someday, do you think that there'll be matching funds to that, or that'll just be what we get?
It'll just be what we get.
Okay.
But that doesn't do anything for this. because
No, no.
It's an in and out account, it's
Yep,
only
yep.
what you spend.
Yep, but it'll allow us to buy, gravel and
Only
At
for
that time.
Only for selected
projects.
projects.
Yep.
And it's,
I don't know if they're gonna be as fussy on them.
no, I don't think they are,
No.
but it looks like we're getting, what, $842,000 over 2 years, so $400,000 a year, 420.
But
If
then,
that's at the maximum, or when his pots start,
yeah,
If the,
yeah,
if the pot fills like they
Yeah.
expect it to.
so it's not gonna be the windfall that it was.
No.
The $2-3 million.
will it, but then of course, then we're gonna need engineering for these projects, I suppose,
It will come out of, that can come out of that.
out of those dollars. But then that makes that number smaller.
25% smaller, 20% smaller. So now it's 640,000 of actual work to do.
Yeah. Or
That'd be
100,000 a year.
That'd be like our one
Out of the
project
400.
this year,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
basically.
So,
There's probably a little room in asphalt too, I don't know what they have planned for that.
Yeah, there could be room there.
so what do we usually put on per mile of gravel? Put 500 yards to the mile? Try
we
to?
Try to do more than that, but we've been going down because we had to cover more miles. Well, now that we've got some roads that are gravelled, good. It would be nice if we could go back and put 200,000 or 200
Yeah,
yards per mile
yards to the mile.
for free.
But some of them are awful wide. 200 isn't not much on there if you're gonna
Oh,
put
just to
on.
cover the loss that you have
Yeah.
each year, But
You talk about an inch a year.
we put about 600 yards a mile on. On what we're doing now, we're doing about between 4 to 5 again over that bad stuff.
How many yards do we have in these pits total piled up? Do you have any idea?
I'd say we have about 50,000 yards.
50,000 yards. And then we're owed another $50,000 worth, and that'll be how many yards, you figure?
That was just gonna be 10,000 yards because it was gonna be $5 a yard if it came out of that Campbell pit.
And we have 400 miles of road, 300.
We have 242 miles, I think.
242 miles. So we're doing a fourth of them a year. I'm trying to figure out how far that gravel's gonna go that we have.
242 could include the 39.5 pavement, I think.
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe
I
so.
think it does.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I guess I can tell you right here. We have 99.5 of federal aids gravel and 103.5 of non-FAS gravel.
So 200. 200 miles.
You know, 300 yards of gravel for every mile of road you got in the file.
Okay, yeah.
In all the piles.
Yeah.
And that would do all the roads?
200 miles.
That would do
60,000.
200 miles? Yep,
Do
yep.
200 miles a road.
So you have 4 years of gravel in the pits, basically.
But you want to put more on 300 yards.
Yeah. But how much,
Yeah, probably 600.
Because that's about like that.
yeah, 5 to 6.
Yeah, so that,
All depends how wide the road.
Wayne was just talking to 300 if you just to spruce up the one.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Pat spots.
I think that's what Barnes County does a lot of times.
A maintenance gravel.
Just a maintenance,
Yeah.
you can go along at a pretty good speed, you get enough. Because every year you lose some, you know, with the dust and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
gravel flying off. Just once you get behind again, like we were.
It's hard to catch
you
up.
Catch up.
To reclaim it out of the drains at the car washes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to claim the edges of the roads anymore.
Well, do we have her?
Got a number.
Got a number?
Making those I am
Do you come up with 1,094,284,10 then? With the
1,094,284.10. Yep. And so then I have a levy amount of negative 262,105.35.
That's because you left the you left reserve in there?
No, like I don't have a levy.
Hmm?
I don't have a levy.
Yeah, a negative is a levy.
No, I'm saying like I'm a negative levy. So I'm not levying.
Oh, you have a positive cash balance?
Yeah. So I have a positive 262,105.35.
What does that mean?
I'm not levying a cent for you right at this moment.
I bought it the first of the year.
How did that happen? We were only, to make it work out before, we were levying $700,000. Now you're saying we're gonna have to levy 900,000?
No, the way that you guys have it, I would be levying the 30 mils. That's how I worked it backwards. And then now you guys took out that reserve and you took out all this, so now I'm not levying anything, plus I have 262,105.35 in there. So the way that I see,
You have to add $643,000.
and this number into a reserve.
Right.
Yep.
That's your 30 mils.
So I need, for my 30 mils, I need it so that I have at this moment. So I need a reserve of 905, 214.75.
Mm-hmm. Notice any similarities there? It just about matches the ending balance
Ending
for
balance.
2019, as it should. If we balance the thing, it should match that.
Okay.
So
So
now
now
we'll
it-
finally
oh.
come to the point where the amount that is in reserve is the actual amount that is carried. So now it should be easier to manage.
So you're not levying 30 mils? then?
I'm
Yes,
levying-
we're levying
I'm
30
levying-
mils.
Yeah.
Levying 30 mills, but now we've balanced the carryover from the last 50 years with the reserve. So it's said here that if you go to page C7, and right at the very bottom, second column from the left, 904, 225, 90. That's what we're expected to carry out of 2019. And when we balanced the budget for 2020, then we had to levy, we had to put a reserve of that amount in order to make it balance out, and that's correct. I mean, we're off by a fraction, but that's how it should work. So now that balance is gonna be, as we move forward, if we move forward with a balanced budget every year, we will have that $900,000 in reserve. And it will match it will match or be increased. If you don't spend all your budget, it'll be increased. If you decrease your budget, it will be added to. So now that is a real number. Right, so I mean, now it's a real number, so now if in the future we decided to decrease that reserve amount and spend some of that reserve money, we could, we would know exactly what the outcome of that's gonna be.
Well, as tight as our budget is, if we get a bad winter or something, we'd probably be dipping into that a little bit.
Correct.
Well, it could come out of the
You know.
emergency.
That fraction difference is probably because we're 1,000 a little bit, about $1,000 less on expenditures as revenue,
That's correct,
right?
that's correct. Whatever the difference is on the expenditures revenue
That's
will be the difference
That's
between
the
that.
fraction between the 904.
So now it's at a true number, so now you do actually have a reserve of $905,000. It's actually there in the treasury to be spent, but there's nothing to replenish it. So as we spend that down, and we keep having tight budgets like this, there will be no way to increase that without not spending all your budget. So it took a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is, if there's bad news, something bad happens, there's money there.
So is that part of the $3 million or whatever that's supposedly
No,
Somewhere.
it's,
drawing interest, CDs?
no,
Commissioners go
this is
and
the ability,
negotiate
this is the ability to spend money, that it isn't the actual money.
Okay, are you ready to move on? Do you have anything else for us?
I am.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Is that it?
For now, until you run it through again and we're gonna have another meeting shortly.
Do you want to keep going? Should we keep going though?
Well, what are we gonna do?
I don't know. Just keep going.
No, run this all through and
You-
let me see it.
You want
See
all
some
of it run
numbers?
through?
And we kinda gotta have Harold,
Right, now
Yeah.
we need Harold here.
So you don't want to go through the rest of those budget. The other ones, like at the end.
oh,
Well, we need to have the actual 2018 numbers plugged in there, so we need to do the,
audit and then
and then make
amend
the
the
change,
budget.
amendment to 18 budget, and before we're stuck here now.
Okay.
Put them on the next meeting's agenda.
Do we
Send a
need to
certified
budget
letter
more for
to
an auditor?
Do we what?
Not you.
Yes, all right. Or are you replacing me?
Look like you're getting ready to resign or something.
No, I was actually gonna say we haven't paid Harold for years.
It hasn't changed.
We haven't paid him for years.
Probably why he doesn't want to show up.
He hasn't submitted a bill. How does that work? Do we have money?
We budgeted every year and I have not received a bill from him, so I have not paid him.
Huh.
And I don't know if he submits like for a few years at a time, I'm not sure, but I looked back and we have not paid out of that line item for years.
Our entire reserve might be billed.
Yeah, it might be gone. Anything else? Hearing none, we need a motion to adjourn.
So we're not gonna meet again until Harold comes forth with some actual numbers?
Your next meeting will be the
Yes.
19th, and then by the August 9th, we have to have this
Yeah,
approved, so.
we gotta get Harold to get us those numbers, make the changes, get those numbers into this thing, and then we're pretty close.
So our next meeting will be July 19th at 2:30.
You don't have a meeting to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn by
Second.
Sean, second by Dale. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.